Hi, assembling some of the parts here for the Helping Hand. Glad you could join us today. Lots of parts, a lot of assembly work, and here we are talking to you fine folks on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, I have now been on YouTube for 1 year. As of a few days ago, it's been 1 year since I posted my very first YouTube video, and it was pretty interesting. It's been an interesting time period doing the YouTube videos, and when we started out doing the YouTube videos, we started out talking about doing 3D printing. At the beginning, I didn't know exactly where this was going, but I had an idea, and I had developed the Helping Hand basic concept, and I'd done several prototypes. I hadn't quite reached production parts yet, but I was in the prototype stage, and I started this YouTube channel and started talking about what was involved with me learning how to use my first 3D printer and using the 3D CAD software, and also being able to print parts, design, draw the parts and print them out, and actually have, finished parts. So it's come a long way. And on YouTube, another thing, when I started out, I thought, well, I'm just going to document this journey in the form of videos. And the title I was using at that time was starting a 2020 business with 3D printers. And I came up with that because I was thinking about starting or trying to attempt to start a business. I did plan on using 3D printers since I had purchased my first one and found out what I could do with it. So I figured if I could do that much with one printer, gosh, what could I do with 40 or 50? So now, yeah, I've reached that milestone a long time ago. I think in inventory now, if I had to really take a guess, I believe I have over 100 3D printers now. And out of those 100, I have probably about 60 to 70 that are actually being used on a regular basis, either over here at my old King Room print farm, or down at the new print farm where I have a lot of the Tronix CXY2 Pros and ANET ET4X, ET4s, and ET4 Pros. And I also have some ANET A8s plus large format printers down there, and some of the older printers down there, some Tronix C printers. But anyway, yeah, we've got a lot of printers now set up and for doing different things. Most of the printers at the new print farm are still being set up for different parts and being zeroed in, fine-tuned, dialed in, whatever you want to call it, for printing different parts. Many of them down there are already designated as specific part printers, so that once sales start to hopefully pick up, and as the demand for product increases and the demand for parts increases, I'll have the capacity and the printers ready to go, so I can generate some of the smaller parts. I can produce several hundred of them down there in a 24-hour period. Other parts I can produce more than that. Some of the small locking mechanisms and blank fillers and so forth, those parts I can produce thousands of those in a matter of a few days with the number of printers that I have and the number that I can actually print at one time on an individual printer. So I feel that we're in pretty good shape there. But talking a little bit more about YouTube. Well, this was the first camera that I started out with. I did my first YouTube video with this camera. This is a Sony HXR MC2000, and I've had this camera for a long time, and it does a pretty good job. Look here, had to remind me because there's a monitor up here, and I would always be looking at this monitor when I started out. My wife would ask me, "What are you looking at?" Then of course has a built-in microphone, but I opted to connect this microphone and use it, get a little better audio. So this was pretty much the setup, and I've used it a few times since then, but I pretty much stick with this little DJI Osmos camera. It does a pretty good job for me. This is some of the lighting that I have set up back here, and this was a backdrop for doing the pictures for the website for the different NTI New Tech Inventors parts. So involves a lot of makeshift stuff, a lot of different lighting and so forth. I've posted my first few videos talking about a couple of the printers that I started out with and things that I found that worked and that didn't work using those printers, and being able to make parts for the prototype parts for the Helping Hand. And then I talked a little bit, I got to the point where we were thinking about getting patents on a couple of the products, just in case they do well and we want to be protected and be able to continue to produce and sell them ourselves, even if someone else comes up with the same idea. So we went through that process. Then we had to go through setting up a business and getting a business license and setting up an LLC, a limited liability company, and so forth. So there's been a lot of things that have been mentioned on the videos over the past year, and we documented the new print farm where I went down to this building I had from used in the construction business that I retired from, and went down there, and it was just one big mess, storage building basically, and I had to go in there and clean out one of the rooms and completely refurbish, rewire, reventilate everything in that room, even installing a mini split air conditioning unit. And I did videos documenting all of that, and then setting up the printers and setting up surge protection for all of the circuits that the printers were running off of, looking at backup power supplies and the capability of doing that. A lot of different things, protecting the filament. I did several videos on using the reusable silica gel packets that change colors and let you know when the filament in the plastic enclosure has absorbed X amount of moisture, and using vacuum seal bags to store the filament and so forth. And finally that even evolved into me coming up with the idea of a filament counter, because if I can take a new roll of filament and count off exactly how many meters I need to do a print job, then I don't have to worry about having a lot of rolls of filament that have to constantly be rebagged and so forth, as far as preventing them from absorbing too much moisture, because you all know that when filament absorbs too much moisture, it starts becoming brittle and is prone to break and so forth, and also doesn't extrude as well. So we've gone through all of that. If you have time, go back and just look at some of the videos. You might get a kick out of a couple of them, especially back when you could tell that I was really new, and that I know there are a lot of statements that I've made and a lot of ideas that I had that weren't all the greatest to begin with. But anyway, I've learned a lot along the way, and also being on YouTube, I've learned a lot from other people. A lot of the people that have viewed, that have subscribed to the channel and everything, comment regularly, and I've gotten a lot of good ideas from them. If you go to the website and you look at the Helping Hand, you'll find out that the name is now the NTI Helping Hand, New Tech Inventors Helping Hand. The reason for that is because there are some other similar products out there also called the Helping Hand. At the time that I came up with that name, I wasn't aware that anyone else was calling a similar product the Helping Hand. And I thought, well, maybe this name is a little corny, the Helping Hand, for the product. And I hesitated about ever using that and was trying to come up with other names like something multi-tool or so forth. But we stuck with the Helping Hand, and but since there are other products out there, we're calling ours the NTI Helping Hand. And there is quite a bit of difference between this product and others, as you can see when you look and compare them. So a lot's been accomplished over the past year since I started the YouTube channel, and the subscribers have increased. I have I'm not even sure how many subscribers I have now, but it's over 1,000, and I appreciate every one of you, not only for supporting me with your comments and ideas and sharing things with us. And I'm rambling on. I missed the whole point of the NTI Helping Hand. One of the main reasons I call it the NTI Helping Hand is because of a comment that I had from one of my frequent subscribers. And I don't know if might have been Joe, but anyway, they had mentioned that, I should perhaps have a different name or a more unique name for my product, since there are other products out there that are called the same thing. I took that to heart. I thought, well, you got a point there. So we've made the changes, and there have been a lot of other comments. Obviously, when I try to think of them, none of them come to mind. but people have had ideas about things like when we were started printing with PETG, we were going from a lot of the products were going from PLA to PETG because we needed a little more strength in the products, and the suggestion was made that some of those parts that were being printed vertically, maybe if we could fix them up to where they could be printed horizontally, that we would get more strength in that particular plane to prevent breakage, which was definitely a good idea, and I did that. Several parts I changed, and I can't get as many of them to print on a printer at one time as I could when they were vertical, but by going horizontal with them, I get much better strength, and I've actually tested it, and it does make a difference. And on these parts that demand that they be stronger, PETG has worked pretty well for us there, as well as rethinking and redoing the way that we actually physically print those parts. So those are a few things where I believe that YouTube has helped me. And one comment that was made, people have asked throughout the year, different times, about my background, and in some of my videos I've mentioned things about something here or there that I've done, and one of them suggested, or several people have suggested, that I do a video and just discussing that video how I got to this point, what my background has been. And so I believe I replied to one of the comments that when I get 1,500 subscribers, I'll do a video on my background and what I've been involved in. I'll tell you everything. We'll get into some things. I've had ups and downs, and with different businesses I've been involved in, I've had some interesting things that I've been able to do, and I'd be glad to share that with everybody at some point in time if that's of interest. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and celebrate having 1 year on YouTube. And let me say again that I appreciate everyone that has come to the channel, that has viewed the videos, that have left comments, that have subscribed. It's like we have one big family here, and if I can help anyone, people have asked me questions about how I do this or some of the settings that I use to make something work, and I'm more than happy to share that information with anyone out there. So I look for people to ask questions that I can answer, but at the same time I appreciate it when I have problems and people out there share their experiences and the way that they have solved similar problems themselves. So until the next video, thank you very much for watching, and happy printing.